Hello, and welcome to All 32. My name is Arabia, and here we talk all things football. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. I have my co host, Champ Bailey. How are you today, Mr. Bailey?
I am great. Great to see you. Another good week of football. Let's get to it.
Absolutely. So, just to intro the show, it is what it is came out yesterday, and there was the whole AB situation with Stat and with Cam, and if I'm Arabia, he's Saudi kind of thing that people are are starting to quote a lot. But I just wanted to say thank you to Mace and Cam, not just for trusting me with their business, part of their business by having me on their platform, which reaches so many people, but also for giving me an opportunity to create my own business and bring Pro Football Hall of Famer Champ Bailey on and bring Coach George on and bring Matthew on and just have my own space in this industry where there aren't a lot of Black women and taking a chance on me. Not only that, on top of that, protecting Stat, and it makes me feel like I also am protected and creating a safe environment for Black women in the industry that I don't see a lot of people that look like me. If I'm at the draft, if I'm at the combine, if I'm covering the Super Bowl, lots of straight white male faces, which is okay, but it makes me feel really good that my own community has taken a chance on me. So thank you to Cam for sticking up for Treasure because, she's like little sis. And I thought that was really, really dope. And also,
Mhm.
aside from that, Adrian Bronner was a completely surprise impromptu guest. Cam had all these poignant questions to ask on the fly. He knew exactly what he was talking about when it comes to
Hey,
boxing. And for you to
he
be
be on his
prepared,
shit now.
he does.
He's really on his stuff.
He
I
really
think it was
is.
I watched him talk to who was it? He was challenging recently, and they were going back and forth, and he just had just good points. Like I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
was it? I think it might have been Claret or somebody. It was something about I can't remember who it was, but he was just
Yeah.
going back and forth, and his points was just on point. I'm like, damn. Okay, well, it's hard to argue with what he's saying. Damn, I can't remember what it was. It'll come to me. But I got
Yeah.
to give him a lot of credit for empowering you to do what you do. But see, I think it's bigger than that. And, I don't feel like you give yourself enough credit because you got to be able to stay in the room, right? Like, you got to be able to show up and do your thing. And I think that's what got the door open. But ultimately, you still got to do your thing. So, I give them a lot of props, but I'm sure they'll throw it right back at you like, hey, you know your stuff. That's why you here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just grateful all around. And so shout
Eat
out
it
to Cam
up.
and
Eat
Mace
it
and
up. You deserve
Treasure.
it.
Yes, thank you so much. Interesting show for sure. Definitely entertaining at the very least. And if there is something going on with AB, drugs, alcohol, whatever, I hope he gets the help that he needs on a
Yeah.
very serious
Yeah.
note. All right, so moving right along into football, we had a very interesting slate of week 2 games. Let's get into our first segment, one versus one. All right, so our 1v1 today is Derek Stingley Jr. versus Mike Evans. Mike Evans being a physical 6'5" receiver for the Buccaneers, and then Stingley being very exciting cornerback to watch, a ball hawk, very athletic. Mike Evans had 5 receptions on 11 targets. Stingley was on him like a shadow. Chan, what did you see from this 1v1 matchup?
Well, I was excited to see him matching up. He didn't really do it a lot last year. Made a lot of plays, and fortunate enough for him, made, all pro team and such. But for me, I get excited because you rarely see guys do it. Pat Surtain does it, I think Sauce does it a little bit. And, I'm always wanting to see how because it's one thing to match up and be with a guy, but you don't always play man to man. So I'm always interested to see how they're gonna sprinkle in some zone and how he's gonna match up when, Evans goes into the slot and things like that. So most of the game he was in his face and Evans was right outside the numbers, or at least close to it. And that's where you get to really see the battles. And man, to hold him under half his targets, as far as catches, that's huge. Because what you want to do in an outcome, what's a good outcome for Stingley? No big plays from Evans, no touchdowns. I think he did pretty well in that department. So for me, he wins that battle. But you ask Evans, he's going to point at the scoreboard, right? They got the win. And that's all that matters at the end of it because he's on to the next matchup. He's always had a target on his back. I give Evans a lot of credit. He's one of the all-time greats. He's just climbing that ladder. And, for Stingley to accept that challenge and go out there and do his thing, he's showing why he's one of the best in the game right now.
Absolutely. And if you think about wide receiver duos in the NFL, having Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is a dual threat, whether it's AJ and Devontae or CD and George Pickens. And so this dual threat receiver combo with the Buccaneers, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, Godwin is out. So now Mike Evans is feeling the lack of Godwin there with him having to maybe carry more of that load. But I also think that Stingley would say that he won the battle. And I completely agree. Keeping him to just 5 receptions on 11 targets, even though they lost the game, he won his individual battle. So this was a really, really good matchup. I think a really underrated matchup. 2 playoff teams, in my opinion, still very early in the season. I don't know if the Colts are going to make the playoffs because they won their division, but I would say the Texans right now are the front runner to win the AFC South. So 2 playoff games, a really good defensive game. This was really exciting to watch after that high-powered offensive Cowboys-Giants game. I love the fact that we got a good defensive game in Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
Any
no
last
doubt.
thoughts?
Yeah, well, the Colts are 2-0. So got to give them a lot of credit. I mean, you got a new quarterback. It feels different in Indy right now. I, I'm I'm not sure if Houston is the front runner. I mean, that sounds good before the season starts, but right now, the Colts are 2-0. So, and they look really good beating a good Broncos team. I mean,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that's a lot to say for a young Colts team.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Here's why I say the Texans are still a front runner because the Colts are still new. You know what I mean? Like they have
Yeah,
Daniel
I
Jones.
feel
It's
you.
very early in the season. And for the Texans, I also like the product they're putting on the field. Their defense is there. I feel like their defense is pretty much where it should be at this point. It's their offense that still needs to warm up a little bit. CJ
Yeah,
Stroud and those receivers just have to really find their rhythm throughout 4 quarters. So if they do that, which I believe in them to do, I think that they will be the front runner to win that division. But like you said, the Colts right now are
yeah,
2-0, and we can't discount that. And we
yeah,
don't
and
know what's going to
yeah,
happen over these next few weeks.
yeah. And the Texans do have a new coordinator on offense, so it's gonna take them a while. I understand your point, but you know, it, always gonna look at the win loss column, like who's winning and
Yeah,
who's not. And the Colts are winning. I'm gonna pat them on the back for now, but we all know everybody that's 2-0 don't make the playoffs.
absolutely. Yes. That actually segues us perfect into our next segment, Rookie Watch. Today's player for Rookie Watch is tight end out of Penn State, Tyler Warren. Like we said, Daniel Jones and the Colts are off to a 2-0 start. I don't think the Colts are where they are without Tyler Warren, and here's why. He leads all other tight ends in the NFL in receiving yards, 155 receiving yards. That's cool. He's targeted the most of any other receiver on the Colts, 16 targets. That's cool. It's what he does after he gets the ball in his hands. 90 yards after the catch. There are only 7 other players in the NFL who have more yak than Tyler Warren. He's able
Wow.
to get the ball and make plays. Do I think Michael Pittman Jr. is able to make plays as well? Yes, but not to the magnitude right now that Tyler Warren is having. 33 yards after the catch from Michael Pittman Jr., 13 targets from Michael Pittman Jr. I think the drop off there right now is significant. Just through 2 weeks, we have a lot more football to be played, and this is a rookie. But I don't think the Colts are 2-0 without this rookie tight end, Tyler Warren. Chan, what have you seen from Tyler Warren so far?
Man, look, this is a blessing for them because, I don't expect him to stay on this trajectory and being that productive because they have other weapons. You still got Pittman outside, who's a dynamic weapon. But it's always good to have somebody that can be a safety blanket for this quarterback. And what's crazy is he's more than that. He's a big play waiting to happen. So for me, it's when you have a Brock Bowers that's kind of hobbled and all the other tight ends are getting older, this is his moment to and really make his statement. And it's all it's gonna take is for Indy to just keep winning. And I don't feel like they're gonna win without him. But as long as he's a presence, that's what I loved about him at Penn State. They used him so many different ways. So I was anxious to see if he got to the league and he would continue being utilized that way, and it's happening. And
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that because a lot of guys come in with a lot of hype, and he did, but he's living up to it. The guy gets
Yeah.
open, like you said, he's great running with the ball. I mean, he's like another running back. He reminds me a
Exactly.
lot of Brock Bowers. So
Hmm.
it's one of those things, like this is the modern day tight end. Guys that can get open, that can catch the ball and become a running back. And boy, he's going to be a nightmare for teams. I mean, if he starts warranting double teams and he's a great blocker, he's unstoppable at that point.
Absolutely. And that's the thing about these hybrid positions, like being a receiving tight end, being a blocking tight end. Sometimes it takes tight ends a little bit longer to develop because they have so much on their plate to do.
Yeah.
But when they do, especially if they find their specialty, John Bates on the Commanders being a really, really good blocking tight end, Calcaterra on the Eagles tight
Oh
end.
yeah.
But if Tyler Warren can really find that niche that I think he's really, really good at and also can contribute in other ways, I think he's gonna have a really good career ahead of him.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned Brock Bowers because he reminds me of him. I mean, yeah, I think Brock Bowers set the rookie record for catches. I mean, that's unreal from a
Yeah.
tight end position, but and with the quarterbacks that they had. So, for me, the sky's the limit with these two, and I'm just looking forward to seeing how he progresses throughout the season.
Yeah, me too. So, speaking of how things will progress and the Colts being 2-0, there are a few teams that are 0-2. One of those teams is the Browns. Miles Garrett said that their 41-17 loss to Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium was embarrassing. Champ, in my opinion, last offseason, during the season even, Miles Garrett was visibly frustrated at the organization,
And he
at
should be.
losing, as he should be, at just the state of things in Cleveland. He writes this whole letter about how he feels, and it was just a very intense moment as far as like maybe him parting ways from Cleveland.
Yeah.
And then he signs this record breaking at the time, record breaking contract, being the highest paid non quarterback in the NFL, and saying that he's staying in Cleveland. If you're going to stay and take a big payout, do you think that he stayed for the money? And if he did, do you think that he can then kind of complain about the organization even though he chose to stay and get a big payday? Like can he have it both ways? Can he stay for the money and complain about the play?
What's his name again? Miles Garrett, right?
Yeah.
He ain't he the best player in the league right now? He,
Yes.
he can have it all the ways he wants. Like to me, he is the leader of that team, so his voice matters. Now, what he can't do is be too negative and not think about the next day at work, right? And I don't feel like he's doing that. I just think it's important for him to have a voice and to be able to voice his opinions and say what's on his heart because the guys are going to follow what he does, not really what he says. But at the same time, all the trade demands, that was all leverage, right? You just create leverage. You're negotiating a contract. You got to get the money. When I look back on anybody's career, man, you got to get the money because the grass ain't always greener on the other side. He could have went to some other organization and be 0-2 as well. So, and you wouldn't hear anything from him because he's new and he's not trying to burn bridges, and show up and be the guy that's complaining. So he has earned the right to speak his mind, and he's still in Cleveland trying to change the culture of this team and organization. It's just gonna take time. I didn't expect anything different. I expected the Browns to lose the game, maybe not 41-7. So I understand that frustration. But losing to Baltimore, of course they were going to lose. After Baltimore losing that game Monday night last week or Sunday night. I
Yeah.
mean, nobody expected the Browns to win that game, but at the same time, he just got to keep his foot on the gas as far as going to practice, showing up, and keep being the leader by example that he's always been. And of course, if you're frustrated, I think he should be able to say a few things. He is living through the dark
Definitely.
times of Cleveland. I mean, everybody that's been there has lived through it. So it's one of those things, man. I don't have high expectations for them. I'm hoping one day they surprise me, and I'm still holding my breath.
All right, let's go to our next segment, Champs Picks. And Champ, what do you have today for us for Champ's Picks? I'm excited. It's my favorite
Well,
segment with us, by the way. What do you
see,
have
because
for
you
us?
never know which way I'm gonna go.
I never
So
know.
here's the thing. This is why I love football because it's the ultimate uniter, and I mean from the fans to the players, the locker room, everything about football unites. And I think for what's happened in the past week or so, we are living in some dark times. And I always tell people, and I use this comparison. I was like, you can go through a full game or games and there'll be some calls that you overturn or you get refs get wrong, and some you have to live with, some you can overturn, but ultimately you get the outcome that everybody can agree with ultimately. So when you have a fact-based organization, or 32 organizations around the league led by the NFL obviously, and that brand, integrity is everything. So, and I think that's what's missing, in the world is we all live by a different set of facts. We don't all agree. And I think people need to constantly just keep going back to looking at football as an example of how everybody can get the same set of facts, because at the end of the game, you can't dispute how many passing yards somebody had. You can't dispute how many turnovers. You can't dispute how many sacks. Why? Because we're living at real time and we're constantly evaluating. We're constantly debriefing. Every practice, we go back and watch tape. That's how life should be. And I feel like that would ultimately help build a community and build this country the way it should be. I hate where we are right now. But fortunate enough for me and people like yourself, we watch the ultimate team game and we learn what it means to be a true team and all live with the outcomes of anything that happens on that field. It is what it is. I mean, nobody can dispute who the best teams have been. Nobody can dispute who the worst teams have been. It is what it is because we all can live with the results of every outcome of every game. And the cultures of these teams are built around team first. Like you said, good example, Myles Garrett. He's frustrated. He know he can't do it by himself, but he also know he can't keep working. He can't stop being positive because people are dependent on him. Those are the type of leaders we need in this world. And hopefully one day we'll get there.
I completely agree. As a society, we can definitely just have more integrity.
Yeah.
But a problem too, I feel like, is the same way you said you can't really debate some of the best teams or the worst teams. Some people will find a way. Like some people will go out of their way to be a contrarian
But
and
you point
to
to the stats. You point
yes.
you point to the results.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think fandom is great, but at the same time, there's probably more Cowboys fans than anything. But we all know
Hmm.
they haven't won anything in 30 some years. So it
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
You can pat them on the back all you want. You can say
Yeah.
go Cowboys, America's team. Oh, that's fine. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you look at this the record. The record shows who they really are. It is what it is. You can't dispute that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's a really good champs pick. That's really good. And I think I'm going to carry that throughout the week and just put more of an emphasis on it and
yeah,
make sure that in my life, in my son's life, and we're just kind of making sure that everything is what it should be. And I also want to say, as far as people who are supporting the show, especially in the comments or people who have been reposting and sending and liking, like generally a very positive audience that we have here, Champ.
oh yeah,
And
let's
I
keep it
think,
that way.
yeah, I think you attract what you put out. Of course, there are some outliers, but I think we have attracted a very positive audience of people who love the game and who watch the game on all levels. And I appreciate you guys for being the positive people that you have been and being very supportive. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good segment. All right, let's move on to our next segment, predictions. Thursday night football, we have Dolphins, Bills in Buffalo. I don't even know why we're talking about this
Why
one.
are you laughing? Don't laugh at the Dolphins. I know that's who you're
Well, I
laughing
mean,
at.
it's laughable if we're being very honest. And here's what I'm going to say about that game, because there's not too much to talk about this game. Buffalo's going to win this game. You can put the mortgage on it. Um, a lot of people are calling for Mike McDaniel to be fired. A lot of people are calling for Tua to no longer be the quarterback. First of all, They paid him all that money. I'm not sure who's going to take on that contract. That's just number one. But
Yeah.
number two, I think the problem extends beyond the quarterback and head coach. When you look at an organization that has the longest active streak in the NFL without winning a playoff game, they haven't won a playoff game since 2000. It's been 25 years. I think
Jeez.
it stems further than just the players and coaches. What else? How far up does it go? Is it GM? Is it somewhere else in the front office? Like, what exactly is happening as an organization that you just can't get right? And don't confuse that with the last time they've been to the playoffs. They've been to the playoffs, but they just haven't won a playoff game. The longest active streak without being to the playoffs is the Jets. They haven't been since 2010. But yeah, Bills, Dolphins. This is a no-brainer in my mind. Bills are going to win this a little bit to a lot. What do you think, Chandler?
I think the Bills got this one. It could be close. I mean, it could not be close. I mean, it is a division game, so you
Yeah,
you you always leave some room for, the uncertainty there. And for me, it's a culture thing. I just feel like they don't have the right football culture and what it takes to win. Um, Maybe it's shaking up the head coaching position, or some of the stars on your team, moving some of those pieces, and just trying to tear it down and rebuild. I'm not really sure, because I'm not in there every day, but maybe there needs to be a new voice, new GM, who knows? But ultimately, the culture is not where it needs to be. And, when you get blown out or you lose games you should win, it's unacceptable. And, people start noticing that and they'll take advantage of it. And the players in the locker room, they start feeding into it and they go in the tank. And what happens is when you take your foot off the gas in practice, it shows up on Sundays. And that seems like where we are with the Dolphins right now.
yeah. And a lot of people have been asking me why Matthew and I don't talk about the Dolphins, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, Champ. But this is his first year with Miami. Just these last few weeks, he got to Miami late August. They haven't been performing super well on offense or in defense. He doesn't want to poke the bear. He just got there.
Yeah, I just
He's
got
like,
there. Yeah.
he's like, they signed the checks, and I'm not trying to make them upset.
Mhm.
So until he gets to a point where he feels like he has a rapport with them enough to be able to, because when Micah did it, Micah had been with the Cowboys for a while.
Yeah,
Ross St. Brown has been with the Lions
absolutely.
for a while. He just doesn't have the foundation yet to come out and talk about how bad the Dolphins are being. So I talk about it, but just not during our episodes, just out of respect. Because to be very honest, the Dolphins pay my bills too.
Yeah,
So,
see?
um,
There you
so
go.
we
So
definitely gotta
don't
be
bite the
very
hand that feeds you.
respectful. No, we're
Damn
not about
right.
to bite the hand that feeds us, but we do have to be real and accountable of organizations just as
Yeah.
members of the media, and just point out, like you said, the facts. Hopefully they turn things around, but it won't be on Thursday. So the Bills are definitely going to win that game. Next game is Texans Jags. The Texans on a short week after having played Monday Night Football, and the Jaguars also off to a pretty rocky start. I have this division game, again, leaving some wiggle room for a division game, but I have the Texans. What do you think?
Woo, this is tough. The Texans need a win, right? I all right. So I feel like the Texans, because their backs against the wall, they're gonna pull this one out. It's gonna be close. This is a very evenly matched two teams here. So I'm gonna lean towards the Texans because 0-3 just does not sound like the Texans.
Yeah.
And division game like this, I feel like they can pull it out.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so next is Rams Eagles. I think this is a playoff game. I think it's a playoff preview. Um, ah, this is really difficult, actually. The way that you feel about Texans Jags is how I feel about Rams Eagles. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Rams. I'm gonna go Rams. I don't see. We talked about it last time. I don't
That's
see a
not
lot
a
of
risky
weaknesses.
pick though. That's a
Yeah,
good pick.
yeah. I'm gonna go Rams in this. Not a lot of weaknesses with the Eagles, but the Rams just look really good. Offense, defense. Matthew Stafford is a veteran, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the whole NFL, one of the best in the NFC. I'm gonna go
Bulldog,
Rams here.
bulldog. All right, go
Okay,
ahead. All
UGA. Yeah,
right.
right.
We everywhere. Yeah,
Yes.
but I'm gonna go Eagles, and you know, I think a lot of people are gonna pick the Rams this week because, at some point the Eagles gotta lose. I'm just not sure they fall into those traps like that. They're really consistent, and the defense is good. What they did to KC last week. I mean, I cannot pick against them until I
Yeah.
see some cracks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I might end up eating my words and just even thinking about it, I want to go Eagles really, really bad, but
But
I'll,
you want to pick that first loss. See, that's what it
I,
is.
maybe that's what it is. Maybe I just want to
Yeah,
get a
of
jump on it
course.
and be like, see, I told you. But wouldn't be surprised with this outcome either way.
No
Last
doubt.
one is Cardinals 49ers. Brock Purdy is out with a turf toe variant. Not too bad. They're saying that he can be back certainly a lot sooner than Joe Burrow. So right now, Mac Jones is projected to go into the game. This is another division game. I have the Cardinals winning this game. Who do you have, champ?
I got the Niners. And, I know Brock Purdy's not in there, but if Mac Jones can play like he played, it, it's they can still win. I mean, they have a winning culture in their building. I mean, so I'm looking at that more than anything. The Cardinals very competitive, obviously. I mean, I think they got the weapons to compete. I just don't for some reason, man, the 49ers are always going to stick around. And, unfortunate season last year with all the injuries. But if McCaffrey's out there and Mac Jones is playing the way he's playing, they
Yeah.
get Jawan Jennings and make a few plays like last week. This 49ers team can be scary.
Yeah, Mac Jones had a really good second. Like when he came in for Brock Purdy, he played really, really well. So that is very
Yeah,
exciting and hopeful for 49ers fans. And it's exactly what you want from your QB too, right? Like if something happens to your starting quarterback, you want your backup to come in and be able to keep you
absolutely.
in games. Like so that's a great scenario for the
Yeah.
49ers. But yeah, it seems the 49ers year after year are just plagued with injury, and to some degree, every team deals with injury at some point of the
hmm
season. But it seems like some of their key players always are getting hurt at some point. I have the Cardinals winning, but again, a division game. I'll leave some. Did we do all division games? No, Rams Eagles wasn't. I'll leave some room for error, but I will go with Kyler Murray and the
Okay.
Cardinals
All
winning
right.
one.
Well, we on the opposite side of two of those, so let's see what
Yes,
happens.
we will see. All right, let's go to our next segment, College Corner. Champ, Georgia played Tennessee last week and won in a really tight game. Next week, you guys play Alabama September 27th. What's going on with Georgia football?
Man, fortunate enough we got this win with not playing great defense. So it was one of those situations, like if you look at the first two games, pretty much cakewalks, but our defense sort of carried us in those first two games. This was going to be the real test for our offense to see if they can hang in there if our defense doesn't hold up. And that's exactly what happened. So the defense did what, they're supposed to do in the middle part of the game, but they got up on us 21-7 first quarter. So for Georgia, it's more about just understanding what makes your quarterback thrive. And if you watch that game, they scored on the first drive, Tennessee did. First play of Georgia's first possession, they go deep. Now, we hadn't seen that the first two games at all. No deep passes in the game. So I'm like, okay, I like this mindset. We're gonna attack today. And we saw our quarterback play the best game of his life, at least at Georgia, and and win the game when it mattered. I mean, you go to the end of the game. In order to put the game into overtime, there were two plays where you gotta have it. The fourth down play and then the 2-point conversion right after. And he executed both of those. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better outcome and a better way to put your quarterback in a position to be confident and willing to go to battle and understanding what it's going to take to win. That was the best experience. And the best way to learn is through winning. You don't want to learn by losing. I mean, although you take those lessons from losses, but if you can learn while you're winning and really build on that, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team. I'm looking forward to seeing how they play against Bama because it's probably the more evenly matched team. Two young quarterbacks, great talent on both sides of the ball, but the quarterback position is what's going to tell the difference in this next game.
Yes, well, good luck with Alabama next week. Definitely going to be rooting
Don't
for
need
you.
it.
Period. That's all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Join us tomorrow on Thursday where we talk with Coach George, get in those trenches, and then talk about Colorado football. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.